Doctor Who opinions, we've all got them, haven't we? And we really like to be vocal with them online, don't we? You've got the unreasonable opinions, you've got the reasonable opinions, you've got the idiots who think that the current iteration of Doctor Who is a white man hating agenda programme. Go outside more, please. But you've also got this. Doctor Who The Episode Guide by Mark Campbell. Some of you might not be aware of this book, and if you are, please let me know in the comments, I'm dying to know. Now this book is a episode by episode guide, as it says in the title, of every Doctor Who story. Now this edition of the book goes up to, I think, hold on. Yeah, this goes up to the end of time, so yeah, we're 11 years outdated, but I think it might be quite interesting to take a look at some of the opinions that are said in this book, because they're quite interesting. In fact, I have referenced this book, I think, a few times on my Twitter feed by saying how bizarre they are, but yeah, I think they'll be really interesting to take a look at. Now, I know there is a version, which I think I used to own, but I don't anymore, of this book that goes up to, I think, the end of Series 5, The Big Bang. But I don't have that anymore and I can't find it anywhere, so I'm going to have to do with the first version I got, which goes up to the end of time. Now, as far as I'm aware, Mark Campbell did do another updated edition of the Doctor Who episode guide. I think he went up to the end of Series 6. I could be wrong, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. But also, yeah, I don't have that version either, so unfortunately the 11th, 12th and 13th Doctors, any opinions on those episodes are not covered in here because he didn't get that far. So yeah, and now just before we dive in, let's just take a look at who Mark Campbell is. It doesn't really say who he is, but this is apparently the 5th edition of my Pocket Essential Guide. They've all come a long way since 2000, when I expressed the rather strong opinion that Doctor Who would never return to television and that we should all just get on with our lives. Well, that was wrong, wasn't it? If Doctor Who is not the most popular thing on telly, I'd like to know what is. Even Young Butch of the Year doesn't come close to matching it, and Hole in the Wall might as well sit in a corner and cry. What he's about to say here in his introduction is really interesting. It is debatable whether Doctor Who has become almost too popular. BBC Christmas schedules from 2009 were awash with appearances by that skinny Tennant bloke, even to the extent of him introducing his own ruddy show. How mad is that? And that TARDIS sleigh ident was fun, but by the end of the year I was sort of glad to never see it again. He had high hopes for Matt Smith, thank goodness, but yeah. The opinions in this book are, as you're going to see, interesting to say the least, and I thought it might be fun just to have a light-hearted look at what these opinions say on certain Doctor Who episodes. I'm not going to read it all in order because I do have a life, but yeah, and I just want to say I don't hold any, even though I'm responding to a few of the opinions in this book, I don't hold any Mark Campbell any hate or grudge or anything. This is just meant to be a light-hearted jab. Hi Mark, if you're watching. Now the way this book is structured is pretty interesting. Basically, he introduces them season by season, he has a cast list, here's an example for the Time Warrior, brief synopsis, some notable things that happen in production, and also at the end of every story he gives his opinion in about a sentence or two, and we're going to have a look at some of those. Let's dive in, shall we? Anyway, when you think of the most popular Doctor Who story ever made, what's the one that comes to mind for you? Obviously I'm going to answer because I can't hear you, but anyway. The most popular Doctor Who story that a lot of people would say is Genesis of the Daleks, and also because the DVD of that had the sticker on it that was voted Doctor Who's #1 story ever, and it's often ranking the top 5 polls. Let's see what Mark Campbell thought of it. He also gives each story a rating out of 10, so here's his thoughts and his rating. The first half is very strong, the second less so. Lashings of atmosphere make up for the repetitious nature of the plot, although at times it's all rather talky. Put a pin in that, we'll come back to it. Peter Miles and Michael Wisher give chilling performances, but there is a distinct lack of Dalek action. 8 out of 10. Yep, Genesis of the Daleks is an 8 out of 10. Now let's take the pin out of that rather talky comment and just discuss it a bit. I mean, yeah, I get it is a rather talky episode, there isn't much action in it, but that's kind of the point. I mean, you know, you can't sit still for a bit and watch a conversation. It's not that bad. There is a distinct lack of Dalek action. Yeah, it's not like this is about their genesis and their creation, is it? Okay. Now, 8 out of 10, some people might think that's a bit of a low grade for a story like Genesis of the Daleks, but it gets better. Now, let's take a look at his opinions on a very lowly regarded Doctor Who story. Let's go to season 24, I immediately look there. Paradise Towers. Now, this is a story I don't mind. I think it's probably the best story of season 24. I just think it's kind of good. But let's see what Mark has to say about it. The script is a cross between Alan Bennett and Ayckbourn, while Clive Merrison and Richard Briers are hilarious as the Hitler-esque caretakers with their fingers under nose salutes. Paradise Towers itself is brilliantly realised, and the story's strength lies in its expert balancing of humour and horror. Brackets, which goes slightly awry in part 4, close brackets. Now, the description I just gave there, what rating do you think he gave it? I don't know why I'm asking, I can't hear you. Anyway, he gave this a 9. A 9 out of 10. Yes, Paradise Towers, a story regarded as one of the worst Doctor Who stories ever, simply gets a 9 over a classic like Genesis of the Daleks, which is an 8. Wow. It doesn't stop there. Let's see what else, let's see what, according to Mark, Paradise Towers is also better than. Pyramids of Mars. Yes, I know. Anyway, his verdict on Pyramids of Mars. Splendid for the first 3 episodes, then it all goes pear-shaped. Sutekh looks and sounds great, although his inability to move is a major weakness. Still, the mummies are terrifying, the music is genuinely excellent, and the trip to a ravaged 1980s Earth provides a memorable moment. You nearly lost me there if you didn't make up for that. His argument about the final episode of Pyramids of Mars Part 4 going a bit pear-shaped, I can understand because it's quite different from the first 3 episodes as the Doctor and Sarah Jane go through puzzles and mazes on Mars. But the weirdest criticism has to come from his critique of Sutekh. He looks and sounds great, but his inability to move is a major weakness. That's the point. He can't move. You know, that's why the plot happens, because he has to get free and move again? What next? Davros is a great villain, but his inability not to have legs and be in a wheelchair is a major weakness? Huh? Now, there are some opinions in this book that really don't match the rating he gives it. Whether that was an error or not, I don't know. Because, for example, let's take a look at the talons of Weng Chiang. Groaning under the weight of so much cliched Victoriana, Talons emerges as a garish hybrid of science fiction and literary pastiche. If watched in one go, the lack of subtlety can be draining. 7 out of 10. Yeah, the way he was saying that did not sound like a 7. That sounded something more like a 5 to me. Okay, but the weirdest one has to come on the end of time. Let's have a look, shall we? It's towards the back. Verdict on the end of time. Curiously uninvolving tale which is overlong and lacking in any coherent threat. The Master's plan is ludicrous, the Time Lord's appearance is impressive, due mainly to Dalton's towering presence, but ultimately anticlimactic. Tennant's goodbyes go on forever. This is written in italics, by the way, if you can see that. Forever. And the manner of his actual demise is unmemorable. Cribbins, as usual, steals the show. So he noted 2 bits of positivity there. Timothy Dalton as Rassilon, Bernard Cribbins as Wilfred Mott. What rating do you think he gave it? Like a 4, a 3, something like that? He gave it a 7. Now, there are some Doctor Who stories out there that are kind of in middle ground. You think they're pretty good, but they don't really top any top 10 fan polls. Let's see how savage Mark can be towards Resurrection of the Daleks from 1984. His verdict is, an ultra-violent, soulless remake of Earthshock, beneath the technobabble, endless continuity references, silly hats and abysmally acted death scenes, there's no sign of a plot. 2 out of 10. 2 out of 10? I mean, it's not that bad, come on. I mean, this is what he gave Destiny of the Daleks. Despite its well-designed sets and crisp location footage, this story is often compared unfavourably with its Season 12 predecessor. Okay, I can agree with that. Tatty Daleks aside though, this is a polished adventure that skillfully balances humour with action. 7 out of 10. Yeah. I mean, why is Resurrection of the Daleks a 2? Does he just have some hate boner against Eric Saywood? I know Saywood was known for cramming a lot of things into his story. What am I doing this motion? I don't know. But 2 out of 10, that's a bit harsh. I mean, 2 out of 10, in my opinion, that's like a Suicide Squad rating. There are a few stories that I do have to laugh at because just of how savage he can be. For example, this is his 6. That's right, 6. The same that the 10th Doctor used to bring down Harriet Jones. This is his 6-word review of Time Flight. Inexplicable, boring, and very badly written. Savage. Wow. In fact, his shortest review can be seen for The Wheel in Space in Season 5. What does he think of it? 2 words. Utter tedium. 2 out of 10. Wow. Now, there are a few stories that I just majorly disagree on because, just what? For example, The Three Doctors in Season 10. This is what he thinks of it. An obvious idea done on the cheap. 4 out of 10. The Three Doctors. 4 out of 10? Really? I mean, I don't think it's... it might not even come in my top 10 Third Doctor stories, but come on, it's great fun. You're just miserable. I'm sorry, no hard feelings, Mark. Let's go to where he thinks about The Five Doctors, which is also a multi-doctor special. Despite the all-star cast and workable plot, The Five Doctors still manages to be dull. Too many ingredients and flaccid direction. Flaccid. Combined to produce a curiously uninvolving celebration. Oh, celebration, I must add, is in quotation marks. Celebration. Yeah. I mean, come on. 5 out of 10 for The Five Doctors? Wow. Just wow. I'm just looking at this. This is all unscripted, by the way. I've not written a script for this. You can probably tell. Now, I'm just looking at the story that came after The Five Doctors, Warriors of the Deep. Can you guess what he gave to that? Are we going to get a Time Flight scathing review that is just in 6 words and completely clear? Or are we going to get another bizarre opinion? If you guessed option 2, you're correct. Okay. Here's his verdict on Warriors of the Deep. Visually striking, the story's downfall is the linear plot, the sluggish invaders and the tinny music. The Merker, despite much criticism, is no worse than any other large lumbering Doctor Who monster. 7 out of 10. 7 out of 10. Just wow. Oh my god. I mean, I argue there's more in the Warriors of the Deep that's that. I mean, you don't even mention the karate kick. I mean, you point out Troughton's Mexican accent in The Enemy of the World having its own spin-off series. I'm assuming that's a bit of sarcasm there. Just, wow. I mean, 7 out of 10 for Warriors? But you give Resurrection of the Daleks a 2? You're just, either you're very forgiving or you're just very savage and hard to please. I really don't know what was going through your head. Now, Planet of Fire and The Doctor's Daughter, put those stories side to side. What do you think they have in common? You probably don't know because I need to tell you. Anyway, the thing they have in common is that a female character is the highlight of the story for our good friend Mark here. This is his review of Planet of Fire. Despite energetic direction and breathtaking location photography, the highlight of the story is probably still Nicola Bryant in a skimpy bikini. 6 out of 10. I mean, I can't argue about Nicola Bryant in a skimpy bikini, but let's have a look at the Doctor's daughter. Georgia Moffat's tight t-shirt aside, this is a high-concept idea executed in a cheap-looking and formulaic way. It feels like an old Doctor Who annual short story, or particularly... what the hell is that word? Otios? This is how it's spelled. Otios? Otios? Huh? Anyway, an Otios episode of Star Trek. The tatty Victorian theatre setting is bizarre. 5 out of 10. So yeah, if you're a woman and you're in a bikini or a tight t-shirt, you instantly get an upgrade from Mark Campbell here. We have had a few 2 out of 10 opinions in this book. Are there any Doctor Who stories that you think he gave an opinion lower than that? Because usually in this book, if you have a 2 out of 10, you're a pretty terrible Doctor Who story, like The Twin Dilemma, for example, which he describes as an old-fashioned TV comic-style plot isn't helped by terrible production values and a misjudged central performance. 2 out of 10. Yeah. But, do you know what there's only 2 Doctor Who stories. I mean, obviously I can't speak for any stories, I think, beyond Series 5, because I don't know. I've not read his updated version of Series 6. But, yeah, can you guess what 2 Doctor Who stories he gave a 1 out of 10 to? Obviously, again, I can't hear you, but, yeah. The 2 stories he gave a 1 out of 10 to are Boomtown and New Earth. Here's what he says of Boomtown. There's probably a fascinating discourse on the nature of justice at the heart of this dull, unfunny exercise in padding, but you'd be hard-pressed to find it. 1 out of 10. I mean, I don't think Boomtown's a classic or anything, but it's definitely gotten better, I think, with age, with the whole morality of does the Doctor have a right to decide who's guilty or not? When he defeats an enemy, what happens then? You know, there's interesting ideas. I mean, I can't say the same for New Earth, but, I mean, this is what he says about it. A very lame opening episode. The dismal attempt at body swap, that's also in quotation marks. Comedy is neither funny, exciting, nor original. 1 out of 10. Yeah, I'd agree there. I mean, New Earth is pretty lame, but 1 out of 10, that's pretty savage. Yeah, the 2 stories that he gave 1 out of 10 to, if I hadn't revealed what they were, you'd probably guess it's Love and Monsters and Fear, 2 very despised Doctor Who stories in the new era, but no, let's have a look what he has to say. This is of Love and Monsters. A slick and energetic piece of storytelling, although often inappropriately adult in tone. I mean, he's got that right. And with a very uneasy mix. Uneasy? Mix of humour and horror. 6 out of 10. How is there horror in Love and Monsters? How? I mean, if you're going by the Absorbaloff and the Hoiks, they're about as scary as Teletubbies. I mean, the Absorbaloff was made by a child. Hi, Will, if you're watching. This is his review of Fear Her. Although lifted wholesale from Sapphire and Steel, there are some effective moments and the story is satisfyingly structured. 5 out of 10. I've no idea what Sapphire and Steel is, so there are some effective moments. I mean, if you're on about the actress playing Chloe Webber, that's pretty effective in making you laugh. The story is satisfyingly structured. What? I mean, have you ever watched a film and thought, that's satisfyingly structured? Have you ever finished watching an episode of Doctor Who and thought, you know what stands out to me about that episode? It's satisfyingly structured. It's just weird. Now, this has to be one of the most bizarre, and I know I've said that a lot, one of the most bizarre opinions I've ever seen, ever, for a Doctor Who story. This is the most weirdest hot takes I've ever seen. This is his review of The Two Doctors from 1985. A Doctor Who version of Last of the Summer Wine, as sponsored by the Vegetarian Society. For those of you who don't know what Last of the Summer Wine is, it's the longest sitcom in the world, I think, by years. I think it ran for 37 years. And it's basically just about 3 old men walking around the Yorkshire countryside. I mean, I've not seen every episode, but in the episodes I have seen, I don't think there's any potato-headed monsters teaming up with cannibals from outer space wanting to discover the secrets of time travel in Spain. What? What Last of the Summer Wine episode are you watching? This is a review of The Underwater Menace, which is, I'll show you. A wonderfully bad story featuring a tongue-in-cheek script, tacky fish people, and in Professor Zaroff, hammed up madly by Joseph First, easily the most ridiculous Doctor Who villain ever, 7 out of 10. Yeah, according to Mark Campbell, The Underwater Menace is only one rating down from Genesis of the Daleks. Yeah. I do think that Mark Campbell does like to stick up for the Doctor Who stories that aren't very highly regarded sometimes. Take, for example, his review of Time Lash. An unfairly maligned homage to H.G. Wells and bad B movies, Time Lash is good old-fashioned entertainment in a season brimming with macopotentiousness. I don't even know what that means. It all goes pear-shaped towards the end, but on the way there's plenty of fun to be had. 7 out of 10. Yeah, that's just below Pyramids of Mars in terms of numerical rating. Wow. Oh my goodness. This is also what he gives to Remembrance of the Daleks. You think he's gonna praise this? Nope. Well, he does praise it, but let me back up. With well-constructed cliffhangers, revelations aplenty and an epic feel to it, this story is undeniably exciting, but it sags under the weight of Dalek continuity and McCoy is largely incoherent. 8 out of 10. Dalek continuity? I mean, it is from season 25. A bit of context would help you, Mark, because, celebrating references. You do want that bit. Oh well. Now again, we have got another rather odd opinion here that doesn't really align with the rating he gives it. This is for Bad Wolf and the Parting of the Ways, the Series 1 finale. An odd amalgam of two stylistically opposing episodes, the whole is probably slightly less impressive than the sum of its parts. The Daleks and their retro 1960s spaceships look magnificent, but there is little plot development in the final episode, and the way in which they are dispatched by Rosa's vortex powers is akin to waving a magic wand. 9 out of 10 is quite interesting here. This is his review of Utopia, The Sound of Drums and Last of the Time Lords, the Series 3 finale. Oh dear. I'm sure he doesn't sound like that, that's just me doing it for comedic effect. As a standalone story, Utopia just about works, and is made a million times better by Jacoby's brilliant master, but the two-part finale is an unfocused, seen-it-all-before mess. Sim is embarrassing, Tennant is replaced by an awful CGI muppet, and the reliance on old-time Lord mythology is just lazy. The Master's surprise return, yes that is in quotation marks, this is in brackets because you've got to emphasise this, the worst-kept secret in TV history is no substitute for a decent story. 2 out of 10. Wow. That's pretty savage. Now, we've quite clashed in this book, so how about we read some opinions where we can at least agree on this. This is The Deadly Assassin, the Doctor's first solo story. The Deadly Assassin is a stunning piece of television. The virtual reality scenes are compellingly nasty, and Gallifrey's rotten core has never been more cynically portrayed. 10 out of 10. Yes, I do agree there. That is a classic. And also, this is his review of The Seeds of Doom. Remorselessly violent, this is one of the series' most accomplished dramas. Tony Beckley is wonderful, while his sidekick Scorby undergoes genuine character development. Keeler's Chronoid transformation is almost unwatchable, and the final gigantic monster is remarkably effective. 10 out of 10. Yep, I agree there. Okay, something we agree on, but I know you're not here for that. Now we did have two stories where we do agree, but let's have two. These are both going to be from the Troughton era. They're most likely to piss me and a lot of people off. This is his review of The Invasion. The exciting, brackets, that is, expensive, close brackets, set pieces take place off screen, and it's at least 4 episodes too long. Kevin Stoney is wonderful though, 5 out of 10. The Invasion, the most expensive Doctor Who story made at the time, is a 5. Yet the Underwater Menace, one of the cheapest ever, is a 7. Wow. I mean, he doesn't even mention in his observations, he doesn't even mention that this was the most expensive Doctor Who story made at the time, but wow. Now, this is his review of Evil of the Daleks. Despite its enormous reputation, oh, he is aware then, this is a deeply implausible story that hinges on several improbable concepts. It only gets going, too late in the day, when the action shifts to Skaro in the last 2 episodes. Now, I don't think Evil of the Daleks is the classic people make it out to be, I do agree there, but to say nothing happens until the last 2 episodes, that's just weird. Wow. Okay, this is his review of The Crusades, in a verdict that completely baffles me. Intelligent costume drama, if a little mannered. What does that even mean? 7 out of 10. Okay, good costume drama, that's a pretty decent review of that, but if a little mannered, what does that mean? Please, answers in the comments, please. Ah, the Dalek invasion of Earth. Do you think he's going to love this? Well, it's highly regarded by some fans, so nah, of course not, he's going to trash it like he thinks everyone should. Clumsy direction and dire model work are symptomatic of this wildly over-ambitious tale that seems predicted to fail. And it didn't really fail. I mean, you seen the ratings for this? Oh wait, you have seen the ratings because you put them in your information bit. It was clearly a hit with audiences. 11.9 million, that's the average. Anyway, the moody build-up in the first episode and Susan's farewell scene in the last are nicely done, but in every other way, the 1966 big screen version is superior. 4 out of 10. What? Wow! I mean, my god. This is his review of The Time Monster, an unfunny Doctor Who spoof. Pretty much everything fails. I love that verdict. Everything about it fails. Nothing works at all. You just can't. Everything fails. Fact. End of story. Fuckety bye. Everything fails. I mean, yeah, actually, if you've ever chatted to me and I've said The Time Monster is the perfect Doctor Who spoof, this is probably where I got it from. So I've got him to thank for that. Now, Invasion of the Dinosaurs and Planet of the Spiders, for me, they're both 8 out of 10 stories, but what rating does he give them? Let's find out. This is Invasion of the Dinosaurs. An intelligent and atmospheric conspiracy tale with a concept-heavy plot that's sufficiently well written to make up for some of the poorer effects work. The fake colony ship is a wonderfully cynical idea. And the scenes of deserted London are fabulously eerie. 10 out of 10. I won't give it a 10, I'll probably give it an 8, mainly because the effects kind of pop it down a notch. I mean, I'm surprised you didn't do that when, in the previous story, The Time Warrior, you said, despite the hammy acting, there are some great moments. 8 out of 10. Now this is his review of Planet of the Spiders. With its avant-garde editing. Really? We've seen the cliffhanger to part 4. Anyway, ridiculously OTT chase and gems of witty dialogue, especially from Tommy. This story is a fitting pecan? Here's what the word is. I don't know what that means. To the Pertwee era. Funny, sad, scary and thought-provoking, even Jenny Ledd's terrible acting can't spoil this heady brew. Brew? What is this, some kind of stew now? 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10 to Planet of the Spiders? I do like it, but I won't go that far. I mean, yeah, as much as I like the chase scene, it is pure padding. I mean, you get on the Armageddon Factor's case when it comes to padding, because you give that a, you give that a 3 out of 10. Wow. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to stop now because a lot of these opinions are just really, really bizarre. That is the opinions of Mark Campbell in Doctor Who The Episode Guide. I know quite a lot of people aren't aware of this, but I thought, why not make a video on it and just me reacting to it, because I just thought it'd be quite funny. Anyway, that's all from me. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.